Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty. With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as Young Carriers Action Day in UK. Young Carriers it's Young Carers Awareness Day, renamed as Young Carers Action Day, and formerly marked on January 30, but now taking place on March 16 from 2021 onwards, which is observed throughout the UK to shed light on the tough lives of young carers. A carer is a person who looks after the physically and mentally ill members of their families. Due to the absence of social security nets and government assistance, many young people have to fill the roles of carriers in their families, which adversely affects their own lives and prospects. Young Carriers Action Day, now observed on March 16th, offers practical support and help to thousands of young carers all over the world, especially in UK. Young Carers Action Day is an annual observance to recognize the contributions of young carers in our society. The day is organized by Carers Trust, a charity organization formed by the merger of two non-profits, Crossroads Care and Princess Royal Trust for Carers. Through Young Carers Action Day, the Trust aims to raise awareness about many difficulties faced by young carers. Recent statistics reveal that 1 in 5 young adults in the UK are at risk of becoming a carer, and most of them are untrained and unprepared to handle such a burden. The years of voluntary services, sacrifices, and institutional neglect can have devastating impacts on young people. Young people have on their plates, from handling school to preparing for exams. They do not observe the added responsibilities of caring for someone else. Carers Trust works with a network of charities to offer mutual aim and emergency support to young carers. The collective effort of the Trust has helped thousands of young carers and affected families with resources, social services, and educational opportunities. In September 2020, it was announced that the event will undergo some changes. Previously, only children and teens below the age of 18 were covered by the trust. To increase the scope of the event, the age limit has now been raised to cover the young adults 18 to 25. The name of the event has also been changed to Carers Action Day from Young Carers Awareness Day, and the date of the event has been moved to March 16th. So, observe Young Carers Action Day by raising awareness about critical needs of young carers. Carers Trust is an amalgamated foundation of the Princess Royal Trust for Carers and Crossroads Care, and it works in sync with the Carers Trust Network partners. It has been in operation since April 1st, 2012, and has helped thousands of young carers all across the UK. Carers Trust brings recognition to young carers who sacrifice a great deal of their life to take care of an ailing family member or acquaintance. Through its resource network of charities, Carer Trust works to elevate the needs of unpaid carriers and provide them with practical solutions and some much needed help. Most of the activities other children their age engage in, seeing friends, attending events, getting their homework done on time, etc. Today is also commemorated as Saint Rose Day on March 16th in Finland in anticipation of St. Patrick's Day. In all possibilities, Santoro is fictional character, yet the tales about him are just as fascinating. Today is also commemorated as Save the Florida Panther Day in US on March 16th, every third Saturday of March, and this year it will be observed on March 16th. It has been more than 105, 6 plus years since Panthera classification was introduced. The day is observed every year as a step towards saving panthers from going extinct and protecting their natural habitat. This is particularly observed in Florida as the panther is the state's animal. People observe this day by joining hands with volunteers and spreading the word about the protection of panthers. It was in the year 1816 when Lawrence Oken put all spotted big cats in the genus Panthera. In 1916, Reginald Pocock made subclassifications of the genus and introduced lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars based on their characteristic features. The biggest cause behind the panthers becoming endangered is the loss of their natural habitat, with their population growing and with ever expanding industries clearing of forests. Many panthers were left without a home. Hunting and poaching also a major threats to the lives of panthers. It is estimated that about 35 panthers were killed in the year 2016. About 15 panthers were killed in the highway near Alligator Alley previously, and one step taken by the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, is going to bring a big change in the lives and welfare of panthers. The FDOT is going to fence the area from the Naples toll booth to the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge, which is about 9 miles. In 2015, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC, recorded the finding of a female panther near the Caloosahatchee River and noted that panther population has gone up from 180 to 230. This was a piece of extremely positive news. It showed the panther conservation efforts were yielding results. So, Save the Florida's Panthers Day. The Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge encourages citizens to be part of this effort of saving panthers. They organize guided tours, campers, and safaris. People can also help the volunteers to the Panther Citizens Assistance Task Force, PCAT, and play their effort in the ongoing campaign. People who don't reside in Florida can also be part of this journey by spreading awareness of the importance of saving panthers and their habitat. The Panthera genus is introduced by Lawrence Oken as a general term for all big cat wildlife since 1860. The Conservation Commission is incepted the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Mission is founded by the government of Florida in 1999. The panther population increases from 180 to 230 near the Tallahatchie River in 2015. The Florida Panther Day is established. Save the Florida Panther Day is created to encourage citizens to join hands and help the cause of protecting the lives and habitat of panthers in 2016. As of 2020, records show that there are about 200 Florida panthers in the wild. The Florida panther is said to have a role in recycling the nutrients in the ecosystem. If they go extinct, it might be a huge threat to the entire koala population. Like most big cats, they are extremely flexible creatures. So this is one of the easiest ways to observe the Florida Panther Day. Join hands with the volunteers of the PCAT and help them spread the word about panther life conservation. Let everyone know the importance of this day. Take pictures of you participating in rallies or doing your part with the volunteers of the welfare of panthers and post them on your social media page. And the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge organizes guided tours and safaris that take you to the swamp and national habitat of the panthers. Have a look at these magnificent creatures from close quarters and take a peep into their lives. Panthers are known to be fantastic swimmers. Many teams in sports like ice hockey, baseball, and basketball have the name of panther. The Florida panther is a subspecies of mountain lion and is not regarded as a panther by some. Florida panthers can leap up to 4 meters, that is 15 feet, and are high jumpers. The Florida panthers are also known as Costa Rican puma or Florida cougar and Florida puma, and they have so many alternate names. It's all about conservation. We learn more about these animals and we appreciate efforts taken so far. Today is also commemorated as No Selfies Day in US. While the act of taking a selfie may predate social media, smartphones, and word itself, selfies have always been popular. Over the years, selfies have become easier to take, and today you can click a selfie on almost every device. Selfie sticks and multifunctional camera phones make it all too convenient to take selfies and group selfies or groupies. However, on No Selfies Day, we are not allowed to take any selfies or groupies. We know torture, but we are all in this together. Selfie addiction has been linked to psychologically damaging behavior. Research revealed that a woman on average spends about 104 minutes each week trying to capture perfect selfies. Selfies have become a cultural phenomenon because they reveal the basic human desire to feel noticed, appreciated, and recognized. Due to fast-paced social media development, people take selfies and upload them for likes and comments to keep up with the trends. Selfies are even enhanced with lights filters, effects, and more. As a result, people tend to become confused between someone's online presence and their real life, leading to rise in body dysmorphia cases. Studies also show that we can negatively affected when someone comments something hurtful, dislikes our image, or even when the image doesn't get as many likes or comments as one would expect. No selfies days give both the chance and acts as a reminder to forget selfies for at least one day and photograph others instead, or perhaps just take mind pictures to store years to come. The Eiffel Tower was tagged in over 10,000 selfies in 2015 is the famous backdrop. The average millennial will take about 25,700 selfies in their lifetime, as millennials love selfies. Most selfie takers are about 23 years old. Age is just a number. It was clicked, the largest groupie was clicked at the International Conference of Chabad, Lubavitch emissaries, with 2,000 people in the photo. In 2011, Jennifer Lee was the first to caption her photo with the selfie on Instagram. So it's time to take break. An average teenage girl spends up to 1 hour 24 minutes every week trying to get the perfect selfie. No selfies days is a reminder to take a break from this exercise. Selfies can create a negative self image and make us dependent on validation from others. Taking a break from clicking selfies or no selfies day encourages self love. No selfies day might be iconic holiday, but it's a great opportunity to revisit history and see how this form of photography has developed over the centuries. And you might be surprised at what you might find. Today is also commemorated as National Vaccination Day in India. It is observed on March 16. This day conveys the importance of vaccination and its role in public health. On this day in 1995, the first dose of oral polio vaccine was given in India. Vaccination or immunization is the most effective prevention method of highly infectious diseases. According to the World Health Organization, immunization is a proven tool for controlling and eliminating life-threatening infectious diseases. Vaccination is crucial to improving public health and life expectancy standards and elevating social economic impact at community and national levels. The practice of vaccination takes back hundreds of years. Evidence points to the Chinese employing smallpox inoculation from 1000 AD. Even the African and Turkish people practiced it before the spread of Europe and Americans. In India, Ayurveda was practiced since time immemorial, as early as the humankind is known. Edward Jenner is considered the founder of vaccinology after he inoculated a 13-year-old boy with vaccinia virus, cowpox, in 1976 and demonstrated immunity to smallpox. In 1798, the first smallpox vaccine was developed, and during the 18th and 19th centuries, mass smallpox immunizations led to the disease eradication in 1979. Experiments by Louis Pasteur led to the development of cholera and inactivated anthrax vaccines, and the plague vaccine was also invented in the late 19th century. Between 1890 and 1950, bacterial vaccine development increased, including the BBC vaccination, which we still use today. In 1923, Alexander Glennie researched the perfect method to inactivate tetanus toxin with formaldehyde, and then the same method led to the development of diphtheria vaccine in 1926. Viral tissue culture methods developed from 1950 to 1985 led to the advent of the silk and sabin polio vaccines. Thanks to the mass immunization, polio is nearly eradicated in many countries globally. We have made the massive strides in vaccinology in the past 2 decades and have seen the successful development and manufacturing of recombinant hepatitis B and seasonal influenza vaccines. We will see even more effective vaccines with advancing technology, including therapeutic vaccines for allergies, autoimmune diseases, and addictions. So, scientific knowledge develops to allow a large scale vaccine production and disease control efforts. In 1940s, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines are combined to form MMR vaccine in 1960s. The smallpox vaccine is removed as the vaccine is discontinued after global elimination in 1972. Vaccines needed to fight the COVID-19 pandemic are approved in 2020. Although India did develop a polio vaccine, the inactivated vaccine developed by Jonas Salk in the US proved more effective. However, India was the only leaders in polio research and helped manufacture the oral polio vaccine and injectable polio vaccine. So this day is all about sharing the message that vaccination saves lives and it is important. Even today, National Vaccination Day or National Immunization Day is observed on March 16th because the first dose of oral polio vaccine was distributed in India in 1995. The World Health Organization celebrates World Immunization Week in the last week of April every year. The purpose of this week is to educate people on why it is important to vaccinate and protect people from all ages against diseases. They also aim to increase the trust and confidence in vaccines and routine immunization. Pull out the vaccination records and see the vaccines you have received since birth. Thanks to timely vaccinations, you will be surprised to see how safe you are from deadly diseases. If you have missed a vaccination or need one due to medical condition, consider scheduling an appointment on National Vaccination Day. This day serves as a perfect reminder. Many people spread misinformation about vaccines that are apprehensive. Dispel misinformation on social media. Vaccine saves lives more than 2.5 million each year to be precise. Some vaccines are given as shots while others are given orally, different ways to administer vaccines. Smallpox has been eradicated completely. No cases of smallpox have been recorded since 1997. Vaccines don't have the active virus in them, they merely mimic the virus. Infants receive their first vaccination at 8 weeks, then at 12 weeks and 16 weeks, and so on. Babies' first vaccinations. They save lives, remarkable human achievements, and a day to say thanks. Today is also commemorated as National Quilting Day in US. A quilt is a type of bed cover traditionally composed of 3 layers of fiber, a woven cloth, a top, a layer of battling or wadding, and a woven back, combined using the technique of quilting. A quilt is distinguishable form from other types of blankets because it is pieced together with several pieces of cloth. National Quilting Day recognizes quilt makers and their quilt making abilities. The word quilt comes from the Latin word culcita, which means stuffed sack. It became adapted to the English language from the French word quilty. So quilting practices can be found in almost every area of the world and is celebrated on third Saturday in March every year. The National Quilting Association started National Quilting Day in 1991, and since then it has grown into global celebration for all quilt lovers and makers. Quilt refers to the technique of joining at least 2 fabric layers by stitches or ties. The quilting practice dates back to as far as 3400 BC. It was mainly a practical technique that proved physical protection and insulation. However, decorative elements were often also present, and many quilts are now primarily art pieces. In the United States, quilt making was common in the late 19th century and early years of 18th century. In these times, only the wealthy had the time to practice. Today is also commemorated as National Panda Day on March 16th. We celebrate the fluffiest bamboo munching bears that are source of national pride for China. There are two subspecies of panda, the giant black and white panda, the twinling panda, a much smaller brown species of panda. Discovered in 1985 in the mountain ranges of the southern Shanxi province in China. In the wilderness, giant pandas live only in the remote mountainous regions of China. As of 2019, due to rapidly growing population numbers, the status of pandas were upgraded from endangered species to vulnerable species. Still, it is reported that there are less than 2,000 pandas left in the wild due to habitat loss, farming, fur hunting, and other factors. Pandas only live about 15 to 20 years in the wild, but those in captivity can live even longer. Panda bears play an important part in the ecosystem of China bamboo forests by spreading seeds and therefore growing the vegetation which serves the both humans and animals. That's always so one factor contributing to their endangered status is the low birth rate for pandas. Considering that female pandas are the only fertile 2 or 3 days of the year, it makes sense that reproduction in the wild is more difficult for this species. There are about 27 zoos worldwide that protect giant pandas and foster environments to encourage and foster environments and reproduction. The most important factor for preserving wild pandas is to protect their environment, especially the bamboo forest, the main source of nutrition. Though, through the origin, in 1961, the Worldwide Fund for Nature was formed and created their logo around the panda because it's an animal that is beautiful, endangered, and loved by many people in the world, as said by Sir Peter Scott, one of the first WWF founders. The panda became a symbol of the conservation movement around the world, a call to action to preserve endangered species and our national wildlife environments for our wild animals. In 2020, due to reproduction efforts in zoos, reforestation, and conservation campaigns, pandas are considered vulnerable to extinction. Though they are no longer on the brink of extinction, it's important to keep the environment for pandas intact, as the giant pandas plays an important part in our natural ecosystems. There have been some political debates in China and worldwide recently on how important it is to keep spending money to breed pandas in captivity and protect the forests of China, where the wild panda bears live. According to a scientific paper published in 2015, the Society for Conservation. According to a scientific paper published in 2015, the Society for Conservation Biology, preserving the natural habitat of the giant panda also helps 70% of the country forests, birds, 70% of mammals, 31% of amphibians. Pandas play a crucial role in forests, and it's our job to protect them. Today is also commemorated as National Curl Crush Day in US. The day encourages all curly haired beauties to be their own curl crush. Celebrate the day by loving and showing off your new, natural, gorgeous curls. We have often felt frustrated with curly hair since it is more difficult to maintain. Curly hair instead of straight or wavy hair. Since curly hair looks so gorgeous in its own, those without curly hair often envy those who do. There is also commemorated as National Corn Dog Day in US. It's about as American as food items get. Cornmeal was a staple of the Native American diet, and hot dogs are an American adaptation of a German classic. The marriage of these ingredients led to the creation of an item that dominated the fair share of 20th century grab and go food sales, and in the process became a cultural icon. On March 16th, we celebrate the corn dog's iconic status with National Corn Dog Day. The appeal of the corn dog across economic boundaries, rich or poor, you will have the hard time finding a whole group of people who isn't down with the corn dog. They are easy to eat, they are opposite to healthy, opposite of health. Today is also commemorated as National Anti-Choke Day in US to celebrate and chow down on these nutritious, delicious plants. Antichokes from the Mediterranean and are all the oldest foods in the world. By Greeks and Romans ate them in the 8th century. As boiled, baked, steamed, grilled, fried, and every other way, the way in America, 99% of the antichokes we buy are grown in California and is in fact the antichoke day's official site vegetables to get the heart of the matter. We love everything about this yummy vegetable. The first anti-choke reference was in 377 BC. Greek philosopher Theophrastus wanted a artificial artichokes growing in silly and beautifully gradually. Today is also commemorated as National Arcade Day, celebrated annually on March 16. This day honors the name that holds on the unusual and somewhat intriguing measure associated with the real male chivalric interest. It has sprouts of English origin, age. Each name is respectable and desirable with consideration, appellate, and then how highly precise and carefully selected in ancient times because they do not only determine in a child destiny but also attitudes of peers. The American rating reveals that the name Archer is not commonly used. It has been at the bottom of the chart since 1889. However, it began to gain popularity in 2010 and by 2020, it has climbed gradually to 160th rank. In contrast to the United States, Archer is ranked 736 in the New Zealand and 23rd in Australia. We can also infer from the above that Archer is more well linked with the US. Today is also commemorated as Maple Syrup Day in US, which is celebrated on third Saturday of March, and this year it will be observed on March 16th. It is an annual event organized by Bulldoze Nature Preserve that encourages people to take care of their sap buckets, take up their own maple tree, and collect syrup. After registration, a naturalist accompanies the family and provides them with the guidance to tap them their maple tree. It is a fun full of activities and support, environmental education, and gives some art literature. Today is also commemorated as Lips Appreciation Day in US. It is the only day in the year dedicated to appreciating the lips, attractive part of the face. Lips come in different shapes, structures, and sizes. Not only they do protect our teeth from the elements, but the lips also form an important part of our smiles, pouts, smacks, and other facial expressions. That's not all. Lips are also essential in eating and drinking. On Lips Appreciation Day, don't forget to show your lips some appreciation and good care lips to make them more attractive. The skin of the lip comprises 3 to 5 cellular layers, which are unequally more tender than the normal facial skin. Since the lips lack the security layer every other part of the face has, they dry out quicker and chap out, especially during extreme temperatures. It is also possible for the lips to lose up to 10 times more moisture than every other part of the face because of their vulnerability. That is why arts, it's important to take great exceptional care of the lips to keep moisture and looking attractive. Nowadays, many aesthetic products exist to take care for the lips and protect them from chapping. Some of them include lip balms, moisture increase, and lipsticks. Today is also commemorated as International Sports Car Racing Day, which is celebrated on third Saturday of March every year. And it is a day to celebrate and enjoy this extremely famous international sport called sports car racing. This year it falls on March 16th. And this day coincides with the 12 hours of Sebring sports car endurance race. So International Sports Car Racing Day is celebrated on the same day as the audience race held in Sebring, Florida, at the International Raceway. The 12 hours of Sebring, 24 hours of Daytona, and 24 hours of the Mans was widely considered the trifecta of sports car racing. So Sebring is most notable for hosting 12 hours of Sebring as well as the World Sports Car Championship, Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, ALMS, and WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Initially, the Sebring was a 24-hour race, but later, in 1974, the race was changed to a 12-hour race. According to the raceway officials, the 12-hour Sebring race usually brings 4 lakh visitors to Highland County. For sports cars moving at normal speed, rear wings prove to be of no use. Modern day sports can take fuel efficiency seriously and are most fuel efficient. Unlike the most people think, sports cars are less likely to explode due to solid engineering. Sports cars are not as loud and noisy as the people think they are. They just produce a smooth hum. The design of young the design of touring cars and roadsiders was used as a basis for modern sports cars and designs. One wonderful thing we can take home from their International Sports Car Racing Day is the ability to endure. The 12-hour race teaches us the power and benefit of endurance in life. Today is also commemorated as Freedom of Information Day, which is celebrated every year on March 16th, the birthday of former President James Madison. This day ensures that the public is aware of the government's information and provided with necessary information. The information that government can hold on to may include the decisions it makes, the fact it discovers, and sometimes private information on people for surveillance purposes. Under the Freedom of Information Act, an individual can demand the information they want by requesting it, and this information is provided free of cost or with a minimal fee. The Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) was passed on July 4th, 1966 and came into effect a year later. The date was chosen since Madison was an advocate for the freedom of data and individual rights to obtain the correct information. This day serves as an yearly reminder of the significance of transparency within the American government and the public's right to information. So the right to information was the fruit of the labor of several people who dedicated their entire lives fighting for it. Freedom of Information Day celebrates the idea of free information, giving more power and transparency to people and making democracy stronger. Every person has an equal role in the nation's governance, which means that everyone's vote is important. The same fact applies to the freedom of information. Every citizen deserves to know the facts related to the government. This helps people in important decisions and ensure that their governments and elected representatives serve them well. Freedom of information means that the public has a right to access information pertinent to their interests. The UN recognizes it as a fundamental right. The main threat is to national security, which can be internal or external. Certain information could be used to incite strong public disturbance and riots, which can possibly destabilize the government. Freedom of information contributes to government openness and accountability and represents an important instrument to prevent and combat corruption. It can also help increase government efficiency and responsiveness along the civic trust. Today is also commemorated as Everything You Do Is Right Day in US. This day comes after Everything You Think Is Wrong Day, which was commemorated yesterday, and cheers up after feeling bad about decisions we might have made the day before. Everything You Do Is Right reminds that everything will be all right no matter what happened yesterday. Today can be its own bright day. Nothing can go wrong today because everything you do is right and it's going to be a perfect day. Everything you do is going to turn out right no matter your age or status. Everything you do is right day, rights your wrongs. Just relax and feel good about yourself. But please don't use everything you do is right day as an excuse to hurt anyone and get away with it. This unofficial holiday aims to make you feel good about your deeds and decisions and take a good with the bad. Today is also commemorated as Black Press Day in US. On March 16th, it commemorates when the first Black newspaper, Freedom Journal, hit the stands in New York City in 1827. For nearly 200 years since, Black publishers, writers, photographers, and editors have spoken truth to the power on issues of racism. They are different groups united by one mission: an apologetic, unabashed documentation of the Black experience. When Black citizens has no voice, the crusading Black press shaped the foundations of landmark legislation on voting rights, desegregation, and the civil rights movement. The black press sought to unite, educate, inspire, and uplift a disenfranchised community. Today, we celebrate the efforts of the extraordinary people who redefined journalism. There is an enduring legacy that remains relevant, especially with the news channels propagate singular narratives and notions of other. In 1827, a group of prominent African Americans gathered in the house of Boston Colonel. Their objective was to discuss simplifying the myriad social, economic, and political challenges that Black communities face in the country. This collective Black expression came through the church or other social organizations until then. It was clear that this wasn't enough and systematic discrimination needed larger platforms to foster long lasting change. But these platforms were out of reach for Black citizens. Black communities had no access to the media or newspaper. It was routine for some elements of the established press to attack and belittle African Americans in print. Major papers refused to run Black obituaries, let alone any major stories impacting the community. The public media questioned the integrity of a race without giving its people a voice, the right to speak for themselves. So on March 16, 1827, Reverend Samuel Cornish and John Wissam started the Freedom's Journal, the first newspaper produced by Black Americans. The newspaper's first issue made its mandate clear: too long have others spoken for us. We wish to plead our own cause. It was the beginning of monumental change. By the time of Civil War, there were 40 Black newspapers in publication. When the major papers ignored Black realities during the 1920s and 1930s, the Black press stepped up, and then Black run publications reported job opportunities in companies that didn't discriminate. The paper soon became outlets for expression and sports, politics, money, news, considered the perspective of Black readers. Additionally, society pages published uplifting, dignified stories of thriving African Americans leading high quality lives. Fiery editorials advocated voting rights, fair employment, housing, and quality schools. These demands would later set the stage for school desegregation, the 1957 Voting Rights Bill, and civil rights legislation in 1960. Over the years, the Black press has featured the works of Americans' leading activists, including Webb Du Bois, Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, Frederick Douglass, and Ida Wells Barnett. In 1941, representatives from 22 publications decided to form National Negro Publishers Association, in short known as NNPA. Today, the NNPA, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, comprises over 200 Black newspapers in the United States and the Virgin Islands. Today is also commemorated as European Wide Action Week Against Racism from March 16 to 24. So this is the last commemoration for day. European Wide Action Week Against Racism, in short known as EAWAR, is observed from March 16 to March 24 every year. During this time, Europeans are encouraged to combat racism and discrimination, whether from racial slurs and targeted bullying to shared memes and contests and stereotyping people based on their ethnicity. This day is a chance to prevent and respond to discrimination, educate others on the adverse effects of racism, and share solutions on the best way to deal with the incidents of racial prejudice. EAWR is part of the No Hate Speech movement, a youth campaign mobilizing youth people to promote human rights and hate speech online. In 1966, the United Nations General Assembly established March 21st as the date for European-wide Action Week against racism. The UN made the decision 6 years after the events of the Sharpeville massacre, when over 60 people were brutally killed and more than 200 wounded by police while protesting against apartheid. The apartheid regime in South Africa was a state enforced system of racial segregation and inequality that disproportionately benefited white South Africans. So, during European wide action week against racism, the UN and its affiliate bodies call on NGOs, schools, community organizations, towns, councils, and all social groups to unite and fight against racism. The anti-racist group, United for the Intercultural Action, helps coordinate these events in 48 European countries. Since the early 1990s, the group has worked as Europe's network against racism, discrimination, and restrictive migration and asylum policies. United Network of more than 500 organizations supports migrants and refugees experiencing intolerance and prejudice in Europe. So with this, we shall end commemorations for today's, and we thank each and everyone for attending the sessions, and we request before you leave to kindly fill up the feedback form which has been raised in the form of votes. The feedback form has been shared in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. And from 19th March 2024, that is on Tuesday, 3rd Tuesday of March, is commemorated as World Social Work Day. On this occasion, we are organizing 1 week celebrations as part of 1 week conference, international conference on this occasion. So that registration forms have been widely circulated through various platforms. We request everyone to come forward, proactively participate, present, and collaborate for the events. Thank you, everyone, once again. Take care. Good night. See you all tomorrow at the same time, with the same link, with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.